Hello everyone, how's it going? It is me, Jaylene, also known as Fem4. So today we are going to be talking about manners, especially I've been learned about since I was a young child, but this is for a sexy situation instead. Yes baby, threesome etiquette is on the table for discussion today. Meant for any gender, what I'm going to go over with you is going to basically help you avoid any of the many awkward situations that can happen during a threesome. 3 things: the pregame, the playtime, and last but not least, the great after party. But first off, what is pregame? Pregame is basically the talk that happens before any sort of play happens. You should go watch my sex BDSM negotiations video to get a better idea about it. There might be times when there's one person okay with this one person doing something to them, but not really okay with this other person doing that exact same thing. These feelings happen, it's all valid, it's totally okay to have your own limits and boundaries. What is not valid though is to basically not tell anyone, those 2 people, what your limits and boundaries are, because that's literally a walking time bomb situation for an awkward situation. You also want to make sure that person who's coming into your bedroom, because if you're a couple, that they know all the limits and boundaries involved as well. They're not going into it blindly. So hence, pregame actually really basically starts with yourself. This is the time to basically ask really personal questions and be really honest with yourself about what you're okay with. These are the questions you should be asking yourself. Number 1 question: what body parts am I okay with touching? Threesomes happen between heterosexual people too. There's definitely the viable option of being able to be focused on one person or not be touching the other body parts of the gender that you're not really sexually attracted to. And even if you're not hetero, it's still totally okay to create limits surrounding the ideas of touch, especially if you're kind of entering it into with 2 new people. So for example of this question here is basically, I'm a penis owner, I'm going into a male-female threesome, and I'm not okay with the other male identified person in the group giving oral to me, but it is okay if our penises kind of are touching when the femme person is giving us 2 blowjobs. Number 2 question, this is great if you are a couple, but it's what am I okay with my partner doing to the 3rd person? I also said this before, is really developing that limits for yourself as a couple, because you are coming kind of into it as a team. It's not just a single effort. You're kind of conjoining together with this 3rd person involved. In my own experience, I have walked in on the situations where couples haven't discussed this before with each other and been really honest with each other. So when one person is kind of literally asking them in front of me if it's okay to do it, they're a little bit too shy in terms of saying, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. And the after party result is very awkward. Obviously, if you're one to be feeling super shy, I really suggest highly having the conversation with just your partner before all 3 of you are discussing what your limits and boundaries are, so you and your partner can both be on the same page, and if you forget to bring something up, perhaps that is a limit for you, your partner will know exactly and will be able to bring it up for you as well. So having a little bit 2 memories going at play here. And for the question of what am I okay with my partner doing, this is not only just sexual, but it's also situational. For example, in terms of a situational factor is, you know, if I'm going out to get a glass of water and I'm going out for a little bit of a break because we're going a little bit sweaty, I don't really want them to be doing any sort of sexual acts when I'm not in the room with them. The 3rd question is basically, what am I needing afterwards? This applies to everyone involved. I don't care if you're the 3rd or the couple, you have every right and validation to be asking those other 2 people that you are sleeping with what your needs are after all the play is done. For the 3rd person joining, sometimes there's always that risk of, you know, feeling left out after the play happens. So this is your time to basically really question and ask yourself, what actions can this couple do or the other 2 people do for me after the play is done to help kind of regain more of my personhood. For example, I always really like a really good cuddle after couples who I have slept with, because it is something that is a lot more intimate based. It's not just like a quick fuck and then leave and then they're going to be sleeping in their bed and I'm going to be sleeping alone in my bed. We kind of have a little bit of playtime afterwards in terms of just really light touching, caressing, kissing, and just really having a nice moment together. The after sex glow. So after you sort out these questions, put them all on the table for the other 2 people. This is a time to also kind of communicate your main limits and also a safe word, because, you know, maybe you are new to this, you don't actually know fully what sort of limits might trigger you or etc. in the bedroom. So putting a safe word on the table for all 3 of you to know, so it's a lot more easier for us to really kind of say, hey, let's tap out for a second. One of us just feels a little bit uncomfortable with the situation, which is totally cool and totally valid. One of my favorite things to say is unicorn, or there's also pineapple, which is a really popular one. Also I love mango because it just rolls right off the tongue. Now we're moving on to the playtime. So during the play, going off of what we just talked about with a safe word, if a safe word is said, all play stops, no questions asked. There's also the sort of safe word that you can do between a primary couple where it's just you two know this safe word, and it's something where it's like, hey, I'm actually maybe feeling a little bit jealous of you sharing yourself too much with this other partner. Can we have some more attention derived backwards towards me? So for me, I always say during playtime, it's a freaking privilege to be sharing this sexual energy with not only one, but two people, which is super, super freaking cool. But one thing you also have to think about is, you know, you're also extending yourself farther emotionally, mentally, physically, because there's an extra body and energy involved. So we have to think about everyone's comfort level being super, super key here. So one thing I like to say is basically lowering the entire group's comfort level. So we kind of have talked, you know, before the playtime, in the pregame, of what everyone's comfort levels are. Think of it like this. So if you're walking up a flight of stairs and there's two people kind of ahead of you and they're kind of going, they're like escalating a little bit, and you're down here, what you want to do is these two people who are up here is not lend them a hand and say, come on up here. It's actually a lot more fun. What you're going to do is you're going to take the steps back down to their level and degree of comfort. So as a couple, I always say being aware of the third wheel energy is super key. So what I mean by that is if you are comfortable enough deciding with your partner is, you know, even with a person involved, the third person is, what is the person that we want to spoil tonight? So what I mean by that is it's obviously a very selfless night for two of the people, but it also really takes away a little bit the anxiety or the bad feelings of, oh, maybe they're spending more attention towards me. There's already like a preconceived idea of, we actually really just want to make this person come as many times as we can during tonight, and maybe the next night we'll focus on this person, and etc. So it kind of not only gives you guys a really clear playing field in terms of what to focus on. There won't be any kind of really harsh jealous feelings occurring because we already know what's going on, but it'll also be a great way to kind of wrap it up in terms of getting to know each other and explore each other's bodies. Now the play is done and we arrived at the after party. Like I mentioned in the pre-game, you should have already laid it out for each other what each of you need, all three of you need during this time together. So maybe it's a little bit of aftercare, maybe it's a little bit of cuddling, some words of affirmation. All the prep, honestly, in the pregame really pays off in this area because you don't actually have to worry about what everyone else is needing. You're not needing to ask those sort of things. You just already know, and it's going to be received to you. This is the time to debrief for everyone. So what I'm saying by this is, even if you are a couple, you're probably going to have a debrief of your own after the third person leaves. So really taking that time to also figure out, you know, how was it for the third person entering into the bedroom with you two, because their feelings are just as valid. Example questions can be, what was the sexiest part for you? At some point during playtime, there might be one person who's kind of just more speculating upon some acts that were given to between the other two people, so even asking them, you know, how was it for you watching us do that sexy act? And the last question is, what did you need more of during playtime? And this is either emotionally, mentally, or physically. Alright, so now that you wrapped up the after party, maybe it's time to do a little pre-gaming yourselves, so make sure you get ready for your next threesome. One thing I like to say is make sure you go follow my bonus links, because there's gonna be a lot more information and loot to all these videos. I really highly suggest it. And as well as subscribe to this video, because this is your sex education, people. Take it. Thanks for watching, everyone. My name is Jaylene, also known as Femme4. Mwah!